Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here, and thank you for instilling your vote and your confidence and your trust in me the last 10 years to serve you in the Oklahoma State Senate. When I ran 10 years ago, I ran because I had two small children and we kept seeing jobs move to Texas. It seemed like a distant memory that we remembered the words brain drain. We kept talking about having all these great graduates from Oklahoma Christian and from UCO and seeing them have to move across the Red River to Texas to find better jobs, better opportunities. Over the last several years, we've worked together, both in the private industry as well as with government, to improve the station of life for Oklahomans, to improve our economic conditions. And we've done that by getting government out of the way in many ways, by reducing our tax burden that has penalized investment and growth and bringing jobs into Oklahoma. And we've changed that course where now we see more people moving from Texas to Oklahoma than moving from Oklahoma to Texas. Same problem is what I see going on in Washington, D.C. Things are just hard today. We had an economic downturn, and this administration and the response from this administration has resulted in the worst economic recovery since World War II. It's hard to create jobs. In fact, most people can't afford to create jobs because the crisis of health care insurance and the high cost of the price of doing business just keeps going up. It's hard today. It's hard to keep a job. It's hard to sustain a job. It's hard to just make ends meet. A lot of people would say, well, that means that government needs to step in and needs to start taking care of more people. Actually, I think that's the problem, is the government today is trying to be all things to all people. Instead of a limited government that gets out of the way and allows private enterprise to flourish, which is what we've done here in Oklahoma, we have a government that tries to be all things to all people, substituting their judgment for ours. I'm running for the U.S. Congress because I believe Washington doesn't have to be broken. I believe that we can make this a place where we can be proud of and where we can allow for business to flourish. I ask for your vote June 24th. I think first off, energy independence means economic independence, and that means adopting an all of the above approach to energy. It starts in my mind with ending the hostility of this administration and of the Environmental Protection Administration against those that produce and make energy affordable for all Americans. Just this month, we've seen the EPA take yet another stance at raising all of our utility rates, raising the price of food, making it more unaffordable for people to be able to make it through doing a unanimous, across the board, no questions asked, no consent from Congress, overreach of a federal bureaucracy in establishing a new limit for carbon emissions. That's the kind of attitude that's killing energy independence that we could have in this country. And adopting an above all the approach is one aspect. Another one is allowing greater access to federal lands for exploration and drilling. And then finally, we have to approve the Keystone Pipeline now. Well, first off, I think you have to take a look at the fact that our income tax code was last majorly revised in 1986. We have a different economy, we have a different world today than we had in 1986. We need to cut taxes and we need to completely overhaul and revise the tax code. Chairman Camp tried to get that discussion started. It's something that has to be not just discussed and talked about, it's something that needs to be acted on to provide lower taxes, fairer taxes, and taxes that don't penalize growth and investment in this country. We also have to repeal Obamacare because that is an incredible detriment to our country's economy. We need to repeal the death tax to allow people to be able to pass their hard-earned work on to their families. And we need to lower capital gains taxes. Lastly, we've heard a lot from Washington out of both parties about lowering corporate income taxes. Still hasn't gotten done. We need to end the gridlock in Washington, provide more economic stability, and move this country forward. Well, I think first off, we've been really blessed to have representatives from the 5th Congressional Delegation over the past several years that have done it the right way. James Langford has done a remarkable job serving us in the 5th District. Mary Fallon before him did a great job representing our district's values in Washington. Probably the thing that I would say I would like to try to change and like to do differently in Washington is use the experience I have as being a member of a legislative body and knowing the inner workings of how that experience and how that changes things, to try to change within the majority caucus of the House of Representatives the direction we're going. You know, several years ago, the Republican Party was entrusted with governance for the first time in like 70 years and really radically started changing things. And then within about a few years, things were back to the way they were. And the voters of this country did exactly the right thing. They kicked them out of power. They said, you lost your way. You're just doing the same things you were doing. You didn't hold true to your values. And we've suffered the price. We got Speaker Nancy Pelosi because the Republican majority in Washington lost its way. What I would want to try to do is make sure that as a majority party, we govern in a conservative fashion that empowers individuals, doesn't have the arrogance of Washington, D.C. that we see from this administration, that they have all the right answers, that they know how much you should pay your employees, that they know what your health insurance should look like, that they know how to better run your life and make decisions more than you do. And my goal would be to try to make sure that the leadership and the direction of the majority caucus moved in a conservative direction that valued growth and investment in this country more than staying in office and the palaces of power. First, I want to say thank you to the Edmund Chamber for putting this on. And HJ, I don't know if the Edmund Chamber could continue doing this if you didn't moderate every stinking one of these things. You know, as I mentioned, things are hard today. And they don't have to be. Many of us place the blame firmly on the shoulders of the president and say the president is the reason why we've got this problem. But the reality of it is, if we're honest, we also have to say that it's the United States Congress that also is at fault. Their lack of action has empowered not just this president, but previous presidents to aggrandize their power, abuse executive orders, make unilateral decisions without consulting the people who were elected to make the laws. Instead of executing the laws, we see administrations that routinely decide what the law should be and decide, we don't need to consult Congress before we do this, we're just going to do it. That arrogance that we see in Washington is a result of the gridlock that we've seen the past several years in Washington. One of the things that I've been able to do in my career in the past 10 years representing us in the state Senate is move past the gridlock of not getting things done in Oklahoma City, working with people to try to craft balanced budgets, do the things that Washington really needs to do, and that is get out of the way. We don't need government to create jobs. We need government to get out of our way so we can create them ourselves. Private industry is the one that really has to be unleashed to be able to create the jobs, create the opportunity. Government doesn't create our opportunity. God gave us those opportunities. Government is there to secure those blessings of liberty for us. It's been my honor to represent us in the last 10 years in the Oklahoma State Senate. And on June 24th, I ask for your support and your help so I can take the same type of battles that we have fought together here in Oklahoma City and take them to Washington, D.C. to restore faith and restore values for us here. June 24th, I'd appreciate your vote. Thank you.